ischium in front and the ilium above. So these would convert into foramina by the sacrotuberous ligament and the sacrospinous ligament. Both these ligaments emanating from the sacrum, going to the spine and to the ischial tuberosity, thereby forming the superior, the greater and the lesser sciatic foramen. So the sciatic foramina, in front we have the pubic ligament, the arcate ligament, and the ramus of the pubic bone. Laterally we have the ischial tuberosities, and posteriorly we have the sacrotuberous and the sacrospinous ligaments attaching to the tip of the coccyx. The anterior-posterior diameter of the outlet extends from the pubic symphysis up front, goes all the way up to the tip of the coccyx. It is from 90 to 115 millimeters in the female. The transverse diameter again is 115 millimeters in the female, measured between the posterior parts of the ischial tuberosities over here. So you can safely assume that these sizes are larger in the female and lesser in the male, as we discussed earlier in that other flow chart. So the position of the pelvis when standing erect, we have the pelvis which is placed obliquely, so much so that the anterior superior iliac spine and the pubic symphysis lie in the same vertical plane, which means that the posterior pubic surface would be facing posteriorly and upwards, whereas the pelvic sacral surface would be facing anteriorly and downwards. And this whole canal, the pelvic outlet, would be facing downwards and posteriorly. So if we measure the angle of the plane of the pelvis with the horizontal, the plane of the superior aperture, this aperture would be approximately 50 to 60 degrees with the horizontal, whereas the plane of the inferior aperture would be at an angle of approximately 15 degrees with the horizontal plane. So the pelvimetric measurements made on pregnant women by Galville and Malloy, who studied several thousands of skeletons and stereoscopic radiographs, finally found out that the pelvis can be divided into these 4 types, which is the gynecoid pelvis, the anthropoid, the platypuloid, and the android pelvis. These are the 4 types which were identified by studying hundreds and thousands of skeletal and pelvic radiographs. So what are these pelvises? The gynecoid pelvis, the most common pelvis found in the females. It is also called the female pelvis, where the inlet over here in the diagram, you see that the inlet is found to be oval and the transverse diameter is greater compared to the anteroposterior diameter. If you notice the subpubic arch, this arch is found to be of a much wider angle. The sacrum is thrown backwards with a much shallower coccyx angle. The notches, the sciatic notches are well-rounded and less protruding into the pelvic inlet. And this is the kind of pelvis in which there is no difficulty experienced by the female during childbirth. This pelvis is found in 50% of the specimens. The anthropoid pelvis. As you can see, if you compare it to the gynecoid pelvis, the shape differs in a big way. This is more or less oval in shape, the inlet. It has a much greater anteroposterior diameter. The walls of the pelvis are relatively straight. If you look at it from this angle in the C diagram, the walls are much greater and they're straight. The subpubic arch is not as wide as was shown in the gynecoid pelvis. There are large sacrosciatic notches, and you would also notice that the sacrum is kind of more inward pointing. This kind of pelvis is present in about 25% of white women, and amongst the non-whites, there's about 50% propensity of having this pelvis. Then the platypuloid pelvis, which is much wider transversely. It has more of a flattened shape. If you notice, the walls are not as deep as in the previous pelvis. It has a much wider pubic angle. The sacrum is short over here, but it curves inwards, thereby reducing the space or the diameters of the lower pelvis. So giving birth to a child with a person having this pelvis would be a little problematic and may cause transverse arrest. So very few, less than 3% of women have this type of pelvis. The android pelvis has more of masculine features. It's more or less heart-shaped. It has a much wider and a prominent sacrum. The anterior segment is pretty much triangular. The pelvic outlet, you can see the sacrum is inward going, which reduces the pelvic size of the pelvic outlet. The walls are much greater. The pubic angle is much shallower. This is a pelvis that is found in a third of white women and in a sixth of non-white women. Now, comparing the percentage of the pelvises that present in different races, you would see that the gynecoid pelvis has an anteroposterior diameter of 108 millimeters, transverse 137 millimeters, and is more liable to be present in white women compared to the African women over here. No, sorry. The African women has a greater propensity of having this pelvis compared to the whites, but they're pretty closely set. The android pelvises are present in the white women to a much larger extent compared to the African women. The anthropoid pelvises are more frequently present in the African women compared to the white women. And the platyploid, again, a very low percentage of both white and African women. So this was pretty much about the morphological classification and about the diameters. The differences between the male and the female pelvises would be that the male pelvis would be bulkier, bones would be longer, larger, thicker, more stout, whereas in the female pelvis, the bones would be lighter and less dense. The bony markings or muscle attachments would be much stronger and prominent in the male pelvis. It would be much wider and shallower in the female. Obturative foramen would be rounded in the male pelvis, would be oval in the female pelvis. The pubic arch would be much narrower in the male and would be much wider in the female pelvis. The male pelvis would inlet would be oval shaped. The pelvic outlet would be smaller in the male compared to the female, where it would be larger. The ischiopubic rami would be more everted or inward going in the male compared to the female. Similarly, the sciatic notches would be narrower in the male and wider in the female. The subpubic arch would be acute in the male, narrower, would be wider in the female. The ischial spines would project inwards more in the male compared to that on the female. Acetabulum would be larger in the male and much smaller in the female. So these were the salient differences present in the male and the female pelvis. I think with this we come to the end of the, no, we don't come to the end of the lecture, we'll go on. So you can see the difference in the male and the female pelvis. Below is the given as the male pelvis, and above we have the female pelvis. You can see, if you compare the pubic arches, you would notice that the female pelvis has a much wider pubic arch compared to the male pelvis. The ilia are more widely spaced or flared in the female compared to that in the male. The sacrum is much more posterior going, and this one in the male, it is more coming inwards, inward coming in the male. The opening, the pelvic brim, is more or less oval shaped in the female compared to the heart shaped brim in the male. With this, we come to the end of this session. Thank you very much.